All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. I'm your host, Rich Prado, owner of Play in School. Today we're heading down to talk with Clint Montgomery with Southwest Florida Baseball. And that's what all of us call SWFL. So, Clint, how you doing, my man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here and represent our organization. And, I've listened to a few of your podcasts, getting prepared for this, and you do a great job. And I'm really happy to be on here with you.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I don't know the exact year that SWFL got started, but I sort of consider SWFL to be sort of one of these organizations that's been around a long time, that has a strong reputation, and additionally, the word SWFL just makes me happy when I say it. So I like that. But I don't. Yeah. Despite all that, I don't know a lot about SWFL. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know you a lot more and getting to know the background of the organization. So let me just kind of step out the way, hand the mic to you, and give your background, baseball background, what you're up to, and sort of the foundation of SWFL and where you come into that story.
Yeah. So. Actually, in around 1993, SWFL started. There was three guys in Fort Myers: Dave Four, Bill Scarbeck, and John Cederberg. And John Cederberg was the head coach at the community college around here, and he had also had ties with Mississippi State, and now a scout for the Colorado Rockies. And their mission was to make this baseball in this area better, and they were one of the first to ever really start travel baseball. And it was way different back then, from what I understand. They were, I was still in elementary school, but they were playing against junior colleges, and I believe they started with the Scorpions way back in the day, and they would play a junior college or play the Scorpions and travel around the state of Florida and not really play tournaments, you know what I mean? And then around 1998, the travel ball scene started changing a little bit more into the tournament realm and stuff, and that's kind of when SWFL really took off, and we've been around since then. I always tease Cederberg, John Cederberg, that he went to the wrong side. He should have started with the hosting tournaments instead of being one of the guys that brings the teams to it, because it's pretty crazy business these days. But anyhow, so they've been around since 1998. We sent hundreds of kids onto college scholarships, helped them achieve their dream of that. I think we've had over 70 kids from our organization get drafted into minor league baseball, and we've actually had 20 kids reach the big leagues. So, it's been around for a while, and it's done a lot of good things, won a lot of events, and helped a lot of kids reach their goals. So I grew up playing baseball, and my high school coach was Dave Tillett, who is currently the head coach at FGCU, and he was my high school coach, and he was a ESE teacher, and he worked with kids with special needs, and he was a big influence on my life and introduced me to those kids, and those kids were a big part of our family at Charlotte High School down in Punta Gorda, and I kind of got into college, and I wanted to go into sports broadcasting, and being a kid from Arcadia and in Fort Myers, Florida, there's just not a lot of opportunities in that spectrum. So once I got my degree, I said, well, what am I going to do with my life? And I went back to Coach Tillett and how he touched my life, and I decided to become a high school ESE teacher and a high school baseball coach, and I was turning around a program, Lehigh Senior High School, and we turned it around pretty quick and became pretty competitive, coming off of one win season before I got there to going over 500, and Coach Cedarberg reached out to me about the opportunity to work with the SWFL program, and that was probably in 2005, 2006 range, and I stepped in and started with SWFL from the bottom of the totem pole, and I've worked my way up, all these years later, 15 years later, and now I'm president, vice president, whatever you want to say, and me and Coach Cedarberg work hand in hand in trying to improve this organization.
That's pretty cool. 1993, if I was listening correctly, and also looking at the website when Cedarberg started SWFL. That might as well be 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And we, so up here in Virginia, we were kicking around on some stuff at the younger age groups. It was all AAU stuff, right? It was the 12U type of AAU tournament, but once we got up to the older age groups, of course, we all went back over to the American Legion. So it's pretty amazing that guys like Cedarberg and guys like Sal Lombardo, who you referenced the Scorpions earlier, guys like that were at the forefront of saying, hey, there might be a more efficient way. So tip of the hat to Cedarberg for being really at the forefront. Not a lot of clubs who can claim that they were founded in 1993. That's really impressive. So you mentioned your high school coach was working with kids that had an impact on you, and you've basically followed in your coach's footsteps, like step for step. I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't give you a chance to, before we hit record, you were kind of explaining that to me. Can you take a few seconds and just explain exactly, because you dropped some acronyms and stuff that I don't know what that stuff means. Can you just say it, break down in English exactly what it is that you're doing and what the population is that you're working with on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, when I started my teaching career, it's called ESE, Exceptional Student Education, and it's students with special needs and stuff. And I actually broke in at Lehigh High School at working with students with traumatic brain injuries, and then I went to what they call life skills, which is a little higher level, where you're teaching children day-to-day stuff that's going to help them succeed in the real world. And then I switched schools, and I went into intensive intervention, and that was the same type of population with more behavior issues and stuff like that. And and like I said, when I was with Coach Stillette, at Charlotte High, he would bring every practice after school. 4 or 5 students would be out there on the field with us and stuff, and it opened our hearts to maybe kids that we wouldn't have necessarily in our day-to-day in the high school setting be around. And and that's something that I've always found big in my high school program, because I'm also a high school coach currently too, and is making sure that those children get an opportunity to be part of everyday operations with my team, and now I'm currently working as an adapted PE teacher, so I get to do what I love. I get to work with the kids I love, and I get to work with them at physical education and and balls and bats and running and all the stuff that coaches love to do, and the kids I love to do it with. So I'm really happy in where I'm at in life and in my career.
That's well, talk about opening your heart, man. You obviously have a huge heart to do this day in, day out. It's I know that's can be an exhausting and trying thing to do. So, man, good for you, man. Like I said before we hit record, you're getting all the karma. All the karma's coming your way. Now, So let's let me ask you, how does that sort of your day job experience, how does that impact your coaching experience, not only with the high school but also with SWFL?
Well, I mean, I think the first word that comes to mind if you try to tie everything together is patience. You know what I mean? As a coach, you got to have patience to let your players develop at the rate that they can develop and stuff, and you try to help them along that journey. And in the classroom, it's not easy every day. You know what I mean? It's not easy every day working with these guys, but just like in coaching and in the classroom, when it all comes together, the reward is great. You know what I mean? So I would think that would be the word that comes to mind when I say, how do I tie it all together?
Do you think that most of your SWFL families have any idea what you do on a day-to-day basis?
That's a great question. I know they know I'm a school teacher. I don't know and I know they know I'm a high school coach because many of the kids that play SWFL are rivals and rival high schools, and we play all the time. But I don't know if they know exactly what all goes into.
They will now. Hey, they will now.
Yeah.
When you when you share this conversation, I think some of your families are going to go. Their jaw's going to hit the floor, I think, because they're going to say, "Man, I didn't know he was doing this and helping those types of kids on a day-to-day basis," because that's big time. Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about SWFL. Before we hit record, I was asking you how many teams you're going to have, and then I said, wait, don't even worry about saying it because I didn't want you to repeat yourself. So now we've hit record. You were going into talking about the normal teams you carry at the older age groups, and then you're going to be adding some teams. Can you kind of fill in the blanks for us about what you normally have, the age groups, and what you guys are expanding to this coming year?
Yeah, so in a normal summer season, the summer and falls fluctuate because of high school football down here in Florida. So we have less kids in the fall than we do in our summer season. So the summers are, our real busy time. And we normally have one 18U team, which 18U would equate to kids who have just graduated high school before they go into college. And I want to say we finished number 7 in the state this year in rankings and top 30 overall. So, we do a good job at that age group. And then we have 17U, 16U, 15U. We try to have 2 teams at each age level. This summer we have expanded what we're doing, and we're trying to put together youth teams, as I call them, 14, 13, 12, and 11U. One thing about SWFL is all our coaches are high school coaches in our organization at the high school age group. So, we don't really have, we've never really had that youth group yet. And we actually ran into some really good guys that are going to help us start down there. Our 3 younger teams will be coached by 3 guys who actually played minor league baseball, and 1 even played pro ball. So, we're really excited about diving into that. I think it's going to strengthen our organization. One of the things in the past is we kind of just been, as travel balls expanded, we kind of just did what we always done and had the high school age group teams. But now there's so many teams starting these younger teams that, our tryouts aren't getting the numbers that, some of the other tryouts are right now, just because they're already an organization at the age of 12 years old. You know what I mean? And so we're excited for this endeavor there. We also have a couple of high school teams in the Tampa area that we call SWFL Tampa, and we have one in Miami, which is ran by Wayne Hendricks, and it's mostly his high school team, Miami Southridge, but they're a very good high school and have very good players. And then, when we go to bigger events, some of those guys can come over and help our main teams. One of the things that we're looking into doing this summer that's also pretty exciting, if we got a second, is we're gonna do what we call a SWFL Nation team, and it's gonna be all ages. It's gonna be the best players. I don't care if the best shortstop in our organization's 8 years old, which it won't be, but you get my point.
He'll be playing shortstop. I like.
Yeah. So we're gonna, I think that's gonna be something interesting. Instead of doing by grad year, that top team is gonna be a 17U team. They're gonna compete at the 17U level, and most of the players will be that older age. But if we have a stud freshman shortstop that can compete at that level, and he's the best shortstop in the program, that's where he's going to play at. And we're excited to get back to that instead of, just trying to stick with grad years and having, 10 really good baseball players and then filling out a roster, with other guys. I think we're going to make a really strong team. And, we've been strong this summer in 17U. We went 36-4 for the summer, and then Jupiter, we won our pool this year and stuff, and I think we're only going to get better.
Well, I tell you what, I'm listening to the story of heading down into the youth age groups, and I think it's smart, and I think obviously, you identified a great reason to do it is you have that feeder program, because I can only imagine how tough it is to fill that. When you're used to just having that 15U team, you got to go out and find a whole new roster of 15U guys every single year. That can be challenging. So if now you're going to start the year, you might not keep every kid that was on the 14U, but at least it gives you a starting point. So I think that's really, really smart. Now I'm kind of curious. Did these guys come to you? Because it sounded you said you had 3 ex-pro guys. Here's my guess. And I could be wrong. These 3 guys have kids who are younger in the age group. They already had a small organization going, and they said, "Hey, these kids are going to grow up. Let's team up with an already existing, well-established brand." Is that sort of how it came to be, or was it something different and you guys went looking?
Well, the first guy, Carlos Pereira, he played with the Kansas City organization for 3 years, and he's actually one of my assistant coaches at my high school. Really good infield instructor, really good baseball guy, and he coached our 17U this summer, and that team kind of moved out, and they've graduated now, or will be graduated by the summer. So he's going to drop down and start our 12 and 11U. It's a challenge he wanted. So,
so I was wrong. Basically,
it worked out perfect. So he doesn't have a kid. Now the other 2 guys, they do have young kids, and they've played. One just moved into the area, so he hasn't been around a lot, and the other's been around for a while, and they kind of team together, and they understand the benefits of what SWFL can do for them.
Right.
And
so I was half right.
I think it's a good pair. Yeah.
I was about half right then. That was sort of the vibe I was getting, was that there was a couple guys and they were like, "Hey, we need to hang our hat somewhere. We need to go underneath a strong banner."
Yeah, and remember too, when you start in 1993 and you kind of take off in 1998, there's not a lot of other teams around, so we kind of had control from Naples to the Tampa area. We were pretty much the only show in town.
Yeah.
And in the last 10 years, this surge of travel ball. Now in Fort Myers alone, you can find 5 teams, you know what I mean? And not saying all at our level, but you can find 5 different places to play for. You got the Florida Burn right down the road, and you got teams coming up in Naples, and it seems like every day in this area, just because of, I think there's so many travel events that go through this area, it just seems like more and more teams of competition are popping up, so from where we used to have that whole I-75 from Naples to Tampa. Now we're competing, and we gotta make some changes.
I think it's smart. I think it's a great move. Having that feeder program should be really helpful. So that's awesome.
Hey, I want to touch one more thing too.
Yeah.
With SWFL and I think you said it with Sal Lombardo and John Cedarberg and the Scorpions and SWFL, and you were saying they had vision or visionaries, and one of the things that me and Coach Cedarberg, we talk a couple of times a week, and we always eventually we talk about life and we talk about our jobs, and eventually we get to SWFL and we say, how can we make it better? And one of the things we're always looking for new visions, and one of the things I think that is great about our organization that I want to pass out there is, this summer we did two camps, meaning instead of just playing tournament baseball, we set it up. We had a team camp at FGCU where it was just, it was open to everyone because it's a college, of course, but, it was primarily our guys showing up. It was part of our fees. We didn't charge our guys anything extra, and they got to work out for the whole FGCU coaching staff. Then at the end of the summer, we did one in Georgia at Georgia Southwestern College, which is a beautiful complex for that level of baseball. And we actually got 11 schools in from around the Georgia area, and it was just the SWFL workout. Those schools came in, and once again, no extra fee. And then we did it again this fall, at the end of the fall, after the Jupiter weekend. We went to South Florida State College, a junior college, and we invited in several other junior colleges and stuff. And tournament baseball, they're getting so big and so spread out that the colleges can't be everywhere at once, and this kind of gets these guys focused in right on our guys. And I think it's something cool that our program's doing, and I think it's something that probably, now that I said it, more people are going to steal the ideal, but I think it's a great change that we did.
Well, that sounds like an awesome idea. It's like an old school barnstorming tour. You take the talent to them.
Yeah.
And I kind of think like summertime is like mass marketing, and you go to the tournament and there's 400 other teams there. Well, I think fall, this is just me, I think fall should be really target marketing, really strategic in sort of how you're creating that schedule, and stuff like that. What you just described is really strategic, and for nothing else, it's a lot less expensive. You know what I mean? You don't have to those type of things. You can usually get out and back. You don't have to get hotels. You don't have to eat some 10 meals in a row in a fast food or a restaurant, and that the coaches are going to be locked in on your guys, and it's
on
less
your organization.
Yeah, so I love that, and I think there's a lot of different ways to approach that. The point is that the same old every single weekend, same tournament. Maybe it's just a different person hosting it, but it's basically the same teams. A lot of them are really good, but it's like, how many in a row do you have to do? So thinking outside the box is really good. Hey, look, you can teach old dog new tricks, right? Good for y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right on, man. Well, let's so I like to ask these these sort of the old standards. And these questions always end up leading to more questions. So what's up, man? Let
me ask you this real quick before we go into those questions. Can we talk transfer portal real quick? Do you mind? I mean, are you into the college recruiting side of it?
Yeah.
Because I want to say something on the transfer portal. Coach Cedarberg, who runs our organization, he is a pro scout. And one of the things, we talk about is, like I said, we talk twice a week, and I'll say, hey, where were you scouting today? And he'll tell me the school. And one of the things he brings up right away is, they got the best pitching. I mean, I've heard him say this fall he's seen the best pitching staff that this school's had in years, probably 5 times already.
Yeah.
And I think that's a direct link to the transfer portal, getting bigger, older guys that are ready to go and stuff, and more developed guys. And I see the benefits of that. But my question I'm going to turn this on you. My question to you is, where does this leave baseball in 3 years once all these older guys that we are recycling through the portal graduate? Because these high school guys right now, for me doing the recruiting side, they're losing opportunities to play college baseball. And I wonder where I think we're going to have with the COVID return guys and the transfer portal, I think college baseball is going to be as strong as it's ever been for the next 3 years. But do you see the same fear I have? Where do we go in 3 years?
For sure. When guys aren't there. Yeah, looking out 3 to 5 years is a good question. I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but I think the NCAA made a mistake by giving everybody years back. That's just me, because I think it created more problems than solutions. I might take heat for it. It wasn't fair, they say. Well, life's not fair. So that doesn't answer your question. To come to today, and I'll try to get to 3 years out in a second, but to come to today, or let me back up to pre-pandemic, I really didn't tell the average kid from around here, right? Decent academics, decent ball player. I wasn't really talking to that kid a ton about postgraduate opportunities or JUCO opportunities, or simply a gap year, right? It wasn't like part of the normal conversation. Now, for some kids, certain circumstances, the JUCO thing was a great move. But in Virginia, JUCO is not very prevalent. There's a few, and it's growing, but it's D3 and D1, and it's really good D3 and pretty stinking good D1. So those are the main conversations for kids around here. Now, post-pandemic, these kids, these 22s, we're recording this in November of 2021 for anybody who listens, in the future. But the 22 grads, golly, if you're not putting junior colleges in the mix, I think you're probably doing yourself a disservice. And I know a lot of kids who are going to be entertaining the idea of doing a post-grad year. And there's a bunch of different ones out there. We've had a bunch of them here on this call. We've had Coach Aiken from Combine Baseball down in South Carolina. We've had Coach Wilkinson from Scouts USA, which is in they're based in Atlanta. They also have a second location down in your neck of the woods, I think, in somewhere in Florida. Obviously you got big guys like IMG offer post grads. We've also had Mario Jimenez from Inspiration Academy on the podcast. They offer a post-grad program. These things are becoming more and more and more prevalent, and I think for a lot of kids, it's going to be a pretty good option. Now, like you said, this thing doesn't end this year, because the NCAA gave everybody years back, which means there's going to be 4 cycles of this thing where kids are going to be on the outside looking in. And what does that mean? That means they're going to hit the transfer portal, and that trickles all the way down. That trickles all the way down. The guy who's on the outside looking in at an ACC program, well, maybe he jumps on at a mid-major. Well, the guy on the outside at a mid-major, maybe he transfers over to a JUCO, or maybe he goes over to a D3 or D2. So 3 years out, man, your guess is as good as mine. But
and you said it best right there, and that's my problem. The high guys go to a mid-major. The mid-majors go to a D2. The D2 guys go there. In Florida, JUCO is a big thing, so these guys are looking for the rollbacks from big universities and stuff. And it's like all the slots and I get from the college side, they got to fill their rosters with the best players possible. But when all these guys keep rolling back or down a class or whatever you would like to call it, level in baseball, where does today's high school player fit in? And like you're saying, maybe the postgraduate thing is, but one of the things that I pride ourselves in, our organization is I think this. If you got a guy who's good enough to play at the University of Florida, he's good enough to get a scholarship just about anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Those guys are easy to sign. I mean that.
Yep.
But I think our organization does a good job of finding homes for the guys who aren't that guy. You know what I mean? The lower level guys and stuff like that. And I'm sorry to get us off.
No, this is exactly this is what this podcast is all about. It's a major topic, and since the spring of 2020, I've been railing on the NCAA. I think they missed the boat. I think they made a decision that was done out of a good place. They wanted to be the good guy. They wanted to show some love and compassion during a tough moment in history. But I think it ended up kind of hurting more organizations, more programs, more coaches, and more kids than it ended up helping. And it's going to have this sort of like never-ending trickle effect. Now, hopefully, in 3 years, hopefully it does sort of just even itself out. But I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. I know one thing. If this isn't going to be the most unbelievable kind of like renaissance period for junior college baseball, I don't know. I don't know what will be. I think we're about to enter just the absolute best moment for junior college baseball. Kids need to be looking at it. Kids that wouldn't have looked at it 3 years ago probably should be doing some research today.
And in Florida, back when they had the draft and follow, junior college baseball was really, really big deal. You know what I mean? Because you could get drafted, go there and re-sign after your year and stuff. And they got rid of the draft and follow rule, and JUCO kind of took a hit. But now it's, like I said, it's back stronger than ever here. So in Florida, the JUCO programs.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I can't wrap my head around is, and this is not just JUCO, but we got why are we playing baseball in January and February? I can't wrap my head around that part. That's just me. I honestly don't want to be playing baseball in March. But that now we're taking a serious left-hand turn on this conversation. So let's try and reel it back in. I want to hit a couple of these questions. We don't need to hit. Probably won't hit all five, but we'll hit a couple of them. The first one is always sort of like a softball. Get you warmed up. If we're pretty warmed up at this point, but I'm just wondering, are there any books or movies or websites or resources that you think that you recommend for coaches that you think they should be checking out?
Well, I got that hyper thing, where I don't have the patience to read a book.
That's BS. So, we talked about how patient you are. You're the most patient guy I've ever talked to. But maybe you
two different types of patience. Of patience. But I like to make my guys and talk to my guys about watching. And this is going to sound funny, but the MLB Network at the end of the night when they do the studio show, and you got Harold Reynolds and John Smoltz and Billy Ripken and Carlos Pena and all those guys, and they're interviewing pro baseball players and they're doing breakdowns of swings and stuff like that. I think it's short segments that can get you instant gratification that you can learn from. And I know that's probably a different answer than a lot of people give, but I'm just a believer in imitating the best. And there's no one better in the game than the guys at the big league level and stuff. And I tell my players every day, especially at my high school team, hey, let's, if you want to be a big league shortstop, this is what a big league shortstop looks like, and this is what we got to be able to do. We got to be able to change our arm slots on different throws, and we got to be able to, get our bat through the zone or whatever it is, and so a lot of times, I'll bring in clips that I watched the night before, and I make sure to sit down one-on-one with my shortstop and say, hey, this was a breakdown of Carlos Correa. Look at what he does. Now let's go back over a video of you, and this is what you do, and how can we get it to look like what he does? Because he's one of the best 32 in the world at doing it, if not the best, so that's kind of where I go, is I like to watch those breakdowns and learn from that.
I love it. You are the first person to mention the MLB channel or MLB network. Love that answer. I love that answer because I'm familiar with those. I've seen them, and it's kind of like a quick master class. That's what it is. You got a 5-minute segment talking about all the important topics of the day. Love it. Very, very cool answer. Very good answer. Let me jump around a little bit here and see where this one takes us. This may take us to the finish line here. We'll see. What one change, if I gave you the magic wand here, what one change do you think you could make to travel baseball that would have the biggest positive impact?
I would be interested in, I'm sure the listeners and you are familiar with the tournament Jupiter World Championships there at the end of the fall. And, I think it's like 86 of the best teams from around the nation come and play together at one complex. And, it's short. It's 3-4 days long. You play great competition. You have a lot of scouts there. I'd be interested in some of these bigger tournament directors putting together a tier system and, instead of playing 7 games in Atlanta before you make the playoffs and then possibly playing another 6 and playing 13 games in, 8-9 days. And we talk about injuries and pitch count, and we talk about all these things. I mean, if you plan on winning that, you need
30 guys. You need 30 guys. Pitchers. You need 30, 35 guys.
Yeah. And I think if we took that same tournament, and let's say there's the 386 teams that were in it one year, I know, and we divided that up into 4 groups, and based on competition level and what you've done in the past, kind of like they do with the soccer overseas, where you have the tier 1, tier 2. And you know what? If tier 2 wins their event, next year they get to be in tier 1. If you go 0-3 in tier 1, guess what? Next year you got to play your way back into tier 2. And I know that's a lot of work on directors, and it probably will never be done, but I would be in favor of anything shortening the length and number of these games in such a short period of time, so you didn't have to abuse your pitching staff the way you do. I mean, we have a rule that if we're going to start a team, if however we talked about number of teams, the rule is we got to have 10 pitchers on every team. Whether they're two-way guys or just pitcher onlys or whatever like that, and to try to get through these things safely. And I, you said if I had the magic wand, that's probably what I'd do. Shorten these things, get the best teams playing the best teams, and there's no reason that we need to play games where we're beating a team 18-0 in 4 innings because because they paid their money just like we did. Sure. Put them in a different tier with teams that and it's going to benefit those kids too to play their level. They get nothing out of their brains beat in.
This has been talked about. We've done probably 100 episodes of this podcast, and we've talked about this no less than 25 different times. Hopefully somebody forwards this over to the guys at Perfect Game. They do such a great job. They host some of the best events in the country. That's that's not nothing. They have revolutionized amateur baseball. But to have 300 and 400 teams at one event with everybody going for one trophy in this day and age, I don't think it makes a ton of sense. You know, it seems almost obvious. If you got, let's just use round numbers. If you have 400 teams, you divide that into 4 different divisions of 100 teams. And now you really have 4 tournaments running concurrently. And you split those divisions into teams that are similarly matched up, so you don't have the 18-0 after 4 innings happening, because they're happening in every single pool for the first 5 days of that event. You know, so, and the other thing that I can't wrap my head around is how, again, they run the best events out there, but how do you kind of, out of one side of your mouth, you're talking about the pitch smart and taking care of pitchers, and then on the other side of your mouth, you're talking about to win that event, you have to play either 4 or 5 games in a 24-hour time period on the last day.
Yeah.
I don't see how those two.
You got to have bigger and better bullpens than the Cincinnati Reds.
How does that make sense? Like what MLB organization would feel comfortable running their guys out there for 5 games in a 24-hour period? Like it makes, I just can't figure it out. Like it's almost a penalty to make it to the championship game for. To the semifinals and finals is almost a penalty, because you're crushing your guys, you're crushing the arms, and you just throw your second baseman out there, he can pick up some innings. Really, is that not setting that kid up for injury too? Because he hasn't thrown since he was 12, and now he needs to eat innings up because we got more innings. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's a conversation and a topic that everybody has on top of their mind. And just, it's going to take, honestly, it's going to take somebody like, the founders of SWFL, or the founders of, the Scorpions, or or the founders of the Burn. So it's going to take them hearing, from people who are influential in the industry to just say, guys, would you please consider doing this in a little bit different way? Like, we want all 400 teams down in Atlanta. It's a big thing. It's like this rites of passage. But the team from Delaware that goes down there, that should be just playing teams from Delaware because they're really like a state or regional based team, they shouldn't go down there and get their brains beat out by teams full of ACC and SEC commits. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help either side. So, here's what I've been doing lately, man. Every time I ask a question and somebody has a really good answer, and this seems like something that you don't have control over, but I would just challenge you, man. I would say, hey, get on the phone. You know people over there, and so does Cedarburg. To get on the phone and give them this feedback. And just say, hey, listen, we're not alone. Like, we love the event, but we think you can improve it by doing X, Y, and Z. That would be my challenge to you and anybody else that's listening.
Yeah, and I think it brings a great deal of excitement. I mean, when you go to Jupiter, I mean, it's a different feel, because every day you're walking to the ballpark, you're about to see a guy.
Yes.
And you're about to play some of the best guys around him. And, if you create that feeling also, I mean, it would be just fun. I mean, even if you think about it from the 18-0 standpoint, maybe that's an exaggeration, but, these parents are paying a lot of money to travel up there, stay in hotels, and basically playing the game 18-0 if you're on the winning end or losing end. It's really just a waste of your resources at that point in time. You know what I mean? So,
correct.
So anyhow, maybe that's something that, we can, like you said, maybe I'll take the challenge.
And I want to challenge the guys who are listening to this from the best organizations in the country, or maybe not even. You could just be from a regular, everyday, average organization, and you could be calling Perfect Game and say, hey, listen, it doesn't really help us to get our brains beat in down there. Can you put us in a, in a division and in a pool with teams that we're on par with, so that we can play some competitive games? Because those competitive games are what help those college coaches make the evaluation. And, oh, by the way, if you're a college coach, listen to this, you would benefit from a tiered system, because then you could more efficiently schedule how you're going to scout that event. Because now you get two teams of prospects that are in your wheelhouse versus you go see one guy who's in your wheelhouse and they're playing against a bunch of guys who don't compete or don't stack up, which doesn't help you. You want to see kids who are competing, going to see a guy just blow 12 strikeouts in a row because he's playing, the Little Sisters of the Poor, doesn't help you.
How great would it be for the recruiting side of hitters? Because, I mean, how many of these guys, do they scout that are tearing up guys that are throwing 70 to 80? You know what I mean? And you got to project, can he hit that harder thrower? But maybe you don't have enough time to stay on him. And with the way recruiting's working, you got to get to the next game and stuff. But now, I don't have to guess. I'm going to see him versus 87, 91 every game in this event. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, if the people that are listening could go and just knock on the door, pick up the phone, and just say, "Hey, listen, we want 400 teams down there. It's awesome, great event. It's the best event all summer, but can we split it up into 4 or 5 divisions?" Here's the reality. I'm guessing they'll never do it. That's my guess. And because if you're the team who's going to be put in Division D, are they pissed and are they not going to go? Will it end up hurting their bottom line? Which at the end of the day, it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of important. They gotta get paid. Everybody's got to get paid. I get it. So I don't know. I don't know if that would discourage teams if they know they're in the D division as opposed to the A division, if that hurts them. Man, what else? What else is there? Is there anything else that you think that could be a big positive fix for travel baseball besides that? Because that's a big one.
That would be my main one. I haven't got too many others. What I said, if we could just shorten the tournaments and stuff like that, it would be awesome. Even as a coach, it's hard to spend a week in a hotel room away from your family.
No doubt.
And stuff like that. So efficiency, so that would be my number one.
Well, Clint, I think that's a great stopping point. I appreciate you coming on. It was good getting to know you, and it's good learning more about SWFL. I think you and Coach Cederberg done a really good job down there. Any last words for any coaches or kids or parents that might still be listening?
Yeah. First, it's going to sound funny to the college coaches. If any college coaches are listening, remember that even though we're travel ball coaches, high school coaches, we are trying to help the kids, and just give a response. Even if it's a no, give a response. You know what I mean? If we send you info on a guy and you're not interested in the 2023 catcher, just let us know.
Just let you know.
I'd rather hear.
We won't bother you anymore about that. Yeah.
I mean, as ugly as I am, I'm used to the word no by now in my life. So, but as far as players looking for an organization to play in, and parents, SWFL, we're grassroots. We're knuckles in the dirt type guys. We're high school guys. This is what we do. We do baseball year round. We're an organization. We may not be the fanciest or have all the bells and whistles that some of the other places do, but our goal and our mission and our heart is in the right spot, and it's a place where we're going to try our best to take care of your sons. So bring them out.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a ton, man. I'll tell you what, hang on the line for one more second. I'll stop the recording. But I appreciate you doing this with me today. Hang on one second.
Hey, thanks for having me on.